الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين والصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي اسمه في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتليهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marzia, for the enlightenment of the graves of your Marhumeen, of the graves of the Shuhada, Ulama and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the Za'ireen of Sayyid al-Shuhada, for the destruction of the enemies of Tashayyu, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Marwahun al-Fida. Please recite aloud as salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman, the one who is Rahim, the one that has given us the opportunity to sit in the remembrance of that holy household that are the arks of salvation, and then from amongst those households to sit in the remembrance of the one whose ark, as Imam as-Sadiq says, is far wider, far faster, is able to take more people towards salvation, such as the ark of Abu Abdullah. It's an honor to be back here again. It seems like just yesterday that I was sitting here during Muharram in front of you, brothers and sisters, speaking on the stance of Abu Abdullah. It's an honor again to see everyone, to be able to meet everyone. The love that is shown here in Dublin, it's second to none. So alhamdulillah, it's always good to come back and be subject to the hospitality of Brother Yawar Mehdi and his family, who put up with me every time I come and disrupt their lives for a number of days. But inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fulfill all their hajat for bearing with a person like me, inshallah. Also, it's very difficult that I have such a great alim-e-din sitting here amongst us, and then I've been put up onto the stage to speak to. So suffice it to say, I'm a little nervous. So you'll overlook my nerves, inshallah, with a loud salawat ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
I want to today discuss, carrying on from the topic that I took up during Muharram, and that was our spiritual development in recognition of the Imam of our time. We highlighted during Muharram that one of the main reasons why the army of Yazid stood against Abu Abdullah was because they possessed a number of immoral traits, a number of diseases of the soul that stopped them from being able to recognize the Imam of their time. Though we found that they were people who prayed, they were people who prayed Quran, there were people who prayed Salatul Layl, there were people who did Tasbih, there were people who on the face of it had all the marks of a believer, but yet they were unable to recognize the Imam of their time, and ultimately not just unable to recognize him, but actually killed him. Now we are too awaiting an Imam. We too are hopeful that the Imam will select us. But yet, when we analyze our lives, we find that we possess those immoral traits, many of which were possessed by the army of Yazid themselves. For example, the one of lying, the one of pride, the one of jealousy, the one of anger. These various diseases, these things that we consider as personality traits, are actually diseases of the soul, are actually barriers in the recognition of the Imam of our time. So, keeping that theme in mind, I want to look as far as I can in the time that I have at one of the du'as from Sahifa Sajjadiyya from Imam Sajjad salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Where the Imam alayhi salam, when in one of the du'as of Sahifa is a du'a called du'a makarimul akhlaq, the du'a that talks of the pinnacle of moral, the du'a of moral virtues. Here the Imam highlights a number of moral virtues and prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have them instilled within himself. Now, to put this du'a into context and put Sahifa to Sajjadiyya into context, post Karbala, when Ahlul Bayt were released from the prison of Yazid and they returned back to Medina, it was very difficult for Ahlul Bayt to openly spread the message of Abu Abdullah. So they had to look at various methods. And it was a time of extreme oppression upon them, even post Karbala. We find, for example, the event of Harra, when Sayyida Zainab salamullah alayha is removed from Medina because she is holding the Majlis of Abu Abdullah constantly, and the people of Medina are now slowly starting to show bits of the revolution amongst them. Yazid has Sayyida Zainab removed from Medina. With the removal of Sayyida Zainab, the people of Medina magically wake up. And they think, how is it possible that the daughter of Rasulullah is removed from Medina and we are not listened to, and she's removed in such a way? Because Yazid removed her. Some say that he took her to Egypt, others say that he brought her to Sham. When she's removed from Medina, the people start to revolt. And the governor of the time is unable to control it. So he writes to Yazid, says, Yazid, I'm unable to control these people. Yazid removes him, puts another governor in, removes him, puts another governor in. Eventually, what happens, that the people of Medina now have created a full-on revolution. And what they do, the final governor that had come was from the family of Yazid, was in fact Yazid's cousin. And what they did, the people of Medina, was to take him, kidnap him, put him under house arrest along with other family members of his family members and of the family of Yazid. Someone notified Yazid about this in Sham. Yazid forms an army of men, and he calls the Christians as well to join this army. And he says, your job is to go and desecrate Medina. Now this is to give you an idea of the situation that had occurred, that the Ahlul Bayt salamullah alayhim ajma'in were living in. That Yazid sends an army, he gives them specific commands. He says, I want you to go and destroy the city of Medina, destroy its revolution, and then I want you to go to Mecca, and if you find Abdullah ibn Zubayr clinging to the Kaaba, I want you to slaughter him in the Kaaba. It doesn't matter if you have to destroy the Kaaba. Now those individuals that say that Yazid is someone who should be praised, or is a companion of the Prophet, or was not involved in the killing of Abu Abdullah, because he was in Sham, but it was Umar ibn Sa'ad and Ibn Ziyad and these people that took part in it. Yazid had no part. If we accept that, but but we cannot wipe Yazid's hands clean of the event of Harra. When they arrive in Medina, they come in from the eastern Harra. They come in and they begin to, after giving 3 days of time to the revolutionaries, they say, we'll give you 3 days or else we're going to come and decimate you. After 3 days, when they don't back down, they enter in through the eastern Harra. They begin to throw catapults, rocks on catapults into the city of Medina. They come in and they begin killing everyone, looting every house, to the extent that they say they go inside a house, they find a woman breastfeeding her newborn child. This enemy of Allah goes inside and he says, give me what money you have. She says, I have nothing. He takes the child from her by the leg and throws it against the wall. They say that the head of the child split open, the brains splattered upon the ground. This is the event of Harra. They continue to move through Medina, killing people, destroying Medina until they reached the mosque of the Holy Prophet. Within the mosque of the Holy Prophet, some people had taken sanctuary. In fact, they say 800 women had taken sanctuary in the mosque of Medina, in order to say that they won't do anything to us in the masjid, and some of the men had taken sanctuary in the mosque of Medina. These individuals entered into Masjid al-Nabawi, they destroyed the masjid, they tied their horses, their dogs and their camels to the grave of the Holy Prophet. They allowed their animals to defecate and urinate over the grave of the Holy Prophet. And then after this, those 800 women, the man who was in charge, he turns to his men and he says, enjoy yourself with these women. You have destroyed their husbands, you have wiped the earth of their husbands, now enjoy yourself. These have been given to you as war booty. 800 women are raped on that day. The following year they say that every child that was born was known as the child of Harra, the child that was born from that event. After destroying Masjid al-Nabawi, after killing hundreds and thousands of people, after raping 800 women, they start to make their way towards Mecca, where now they catapult the Kaaba, they destroy the Kaaba, they kill people within the vicinity of the Kaaba. This is that situation that Imam Sajjad alayhi salam was living in and was trying to do tabligh in. And during that event, within the event of Harra, because the people knew not to do anything to Imam al-Sajjad, because this is where this revolution had stemmed from, that how people loved the Imam. But even at that time, we find in the seerah of the Imam that the Imam had given sanctuary to 400 women. 400 women were given sanctuary by the Imam. And one of them would say that I had never felt so much peace in the house of my father as I did and in the sanctuary of Imam Zainul Abidin. That we felt at so much ease under the patronage of the Imam. Even amongst those people amongst those women were the women folk of Marwan. When Marwan comes to the Imam, he goes to Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar says, no, I can't do anything in front of the Khalifa. I don't want to take care of your women. I can't. So he goes to the Imam. The Imam says, no matter, if you are killed, we will provide for your women. Remember, these are enemies of Ahlul Bayt. But this is the seerah of the Imam. This is the level of the akhlaq of the Imam. That they come to the Imam, they ask to be able to leave their wives there so that they're given sanctuary. Imam keeps the women folk of the house of Marwan within his house as well. In this situation, the Imam is to do tabligh. And talking more about the akhlaq of the Imam, when the killer of his brother comes to him for help, the killer of his brother, when he comes to the Imam for help, the Imam helps him. And this individual looks at Imam al-Sajjad and he says that I don't think you have recognized me. I am the one that killed your brother in Karbala. Imam al-Sajjad says, no, I have recognized you from the moment that you walked in. However, we never turn away anyone who comes to ask from our door, even if they are from amongst our enemies. This is that level of patience that the Imam had. When Hisham bin Ismail is removed as the governor of Medina, and because Hisham had done so much dhulm on the people of Medina, the one who replaced him tied Hisham in the square of Medina and said to the people, come and take your revenge upon him. Do whatever you like with him. And people were coming and they were kicking him and they were hitting him and whipping him and doing whatever they wanted. Imam al-Sajjad was coming with his companions. Hisham saw it and he thought, that's it. There is no one who I have oppressed more than Ali ibn al-Hussain. There is no one I have oppressed more. Now he's come with his friends. When I am weak, they're surely going to kill me. The Imam turns to his companions before they come. He turns to his companions and he says, no one say anything to him. I will speak to him alone. All of you stay back. He approaches him. Now this is an individual that has oppressed the Imam, that has made the Imam's life a living hell in Medina, following the atrocities that took place in Karbala. Imam goes up to him, whispers in his ear, is there anything that we can do for you to ease your troubles at this time? Imagine. This is an individual that has oppressed the house of Ali Muhammad. Are we able to be that forgiving? This is an enemy. Can we forgive our own mu'mineen to this level? You know, Sharh al-Sadr. One of the aspects, Sharh al-Sadr, you know, at the start of Majlis, you usually hear, Rabbi shrah li sadri. Oh Allah, expand my chest. What is meant by this dua of Hazrat Musa of expand my chest? One of the meanings of Sharh al-Sadr is when bala comes upon an individual, when trial comes upon an individual, he's able to consume that trial within him, but never show the world that he is in discomfort. And also when someone wrongs him, it is like a stone being thrown into a sea. It causes ripples temporarily, but then it disappears as if nothing has happened. This is Sharh al-Sadr. The Imam was able to forgive his enemies, the ones who had killed those, and he was able to help those that had killed his family members in Karbala. What about me and my fellow mu'min brother? What is my interaction with my fellow mu'min brother? What is my interaction with my blood brother? Am I able to take when someone oppresses me and say, Ya Allah, you have seen it, I forgive him? Because Allah Azza wa Jal says, when you forgive, when you show mercy to an individual, then Allah Azza wa Jal will show you mercy. We started the discussion talking about the situation in Medina. It was very difficult for Imam al-Sajjad to openly do tabligh. They say the Imam after Salat al-Fajr in the darkness of the night would gather some people and Imam would give them some lessons, and then someone would recite Quran loudly at the end, so the people would think that, you know, they're doing only the recitation of the Quran. And then they would disperse like this. One of the methods that Imam took under himself and used to do tabligh was the method of dua. The Imam would recite dua at various occasions, and these were then compiled by his sons into Sahifatul Sajjadiyah that we have today. A dua for those that cannot have children, a dua for those that want rain and drought to end, a dua for those that are on the frontier, a dua for your parents, a dua for illness, a dua for the start of the month, a dua for the end of the month, a dua for anything that you can think of. The Imam compiled within it. When he saw a situation where the Muslims were going to fight, he would recite the dua. When he saw an individual that couldn't have children, he would recite the dua. The Imam used various avenues, various excuses in order to recite these duas. But yet within these duas were all the teachings of the Imam. If an individual ever wants to converse with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you want to have a perfect manual in order to converse with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how to do dua, then that is Sahifatu Sajjadiyah. How unfortunate is it that there are Shi'as that have never even opened Sahifa Sajjadiyah, have even read a dua of Imam al-Sajjad. How unfortunate a situation are we in that we find when Henry Corbin would come and meet with Allama Tabatabai in Tehran. Henry Corbin was a philosopher. He would fly from Paris and he would come to Tehran, and Allama Tabatabai would come from Qom, and they would sit and they would discuss philosophy and various other aspects of Irfan. And they asked Henry Corbin at that time, before he had converted and become Muslim, they said to him, how do you converse with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? At that point, Henry Corbin said that I use the book of the fourth Shia Imam. He's not Muslim at this point. He's still Christian. He says, I use the book of Sahifa Sajjadiyah to converse with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine that I've never picked up Sahifa Sajjadiyah. I've never read one dua, but a Christian has picked it up and he has read it. Ibn Abil Hadid al-Mu'tadali is a Sunni alim who has written a tafsir of the Nahj al-Balagha. He says, I have read khutbah number 221 1,000 times in my life. 1,000 times.
Allah.
And I'm and I claim to be a Shia of the Imam, having not even read one khutbah of Nahj al-Balagha, of having not even read one dua of Sahifa Sajjadiyah. How is it possible that I have the hope that I will meet with the Imam of my time and the Imam will take me within his arms when I do not know the ways of ubudiyah, when I do not know the ways of servitude to Allah? Because the Imams are the ones that teach us servitude. The Imams are the ones that teach us this recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we look at Sahifa Sajjadiyah, we find du'as for everything. And the dua that I want to look at today is the dua known as Makarimul Akhlaq. It talks about the morals and the etiquette an individual should have. The Imam, when asking for certain traits to be removed from him, is giving us a lesson that these are immoral vices that need to be removed. It is a complete system of akhlaq. If an individual wants to know exactly what is akhlaq, what are good manners, what is the way that an individual should interact with another individual, then pick up this dua Makarimul Akhlaq and see exactly what Imam al-Sajjad says. And if you want to complement it a bit more, then pick up Risalatul Huquq, the treatise of rights of Imam, where the Imam tells you the right of the muazzin that gives azan, the right of the person who begs from you, the right of the person who you beg from, the right of your ears, the right of your hands, the right of your tongue, the right of your eyes, the right of your parents, the right of your mother, the right of your father, the right of your brother, the right of the fellow mu'mineen over you. And when you take Dua Makarimul Akhlaq and Risalatul Huquq and look at them both, then you find the perfect moral system. Do we have time for that? That is the important question. Do I have time? Because there are a million other things I could be doing. There are a million other things I could be doing other than learning about Islam or learning about Allah or learning about what my Imam said. It is not enough to think that we will gain all our knowledge from the minbar. It is not enough for us to think that whatever we hear from the respected ulama in half an hour, 45 minutes is enough for us to live our lives. No, the impetus is upon us as well. We have to research and remove these misconceptions of the deen that we have within our minds. And that can only come when we bother to pick up a book about the deen and look at it and try and understand it and then question the ulama about it. Up until that time, we won't ascend towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our aim is the ascension towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our aim is spiritual closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was the aim of every imam. That was the aim of every single one of those imams that we cry for. Ruhi lakal fida, may our souls be sacrificed for you, O Imam. Where we're focusing on the imams are focusing on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our aim should not be the imam. The imam is the wasila to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The unfortunate situation is this now, that within at least the UK, it has come to the level where Allah is secondary and the imams have come first. Whereas Allah Azza wa Jal is first. That imams are being given titles of Raziq, or imams are being called, the imams are like this and the imams are like Allah but not like Allah. Astaghfirullah. The imams themselves are saying that, oh Allah, we want from you. The imams are praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, we use their perfect wasila because this is the wasila that Allah loves Himself, but we can never ever remove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the equation. So when we look at Dua Makarimul Akhlaq, the first thing that we notice that the Imam does, that he starts the dua and interlaces every section of the dua with salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And there are two reasons for this. The first is that it is the acceptance of the dua. The first thing is that every dua, and I said this during Muharram as well, that there is one dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not reject, and that is salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. That dua Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never rejects. And so this is why Imam al-Kadhim says that if you have any dua that you want to recite, then sandwich it in salawat. How is it that Allah will accept the first and the last and then reject what is in the middle? So whenever you want to do dua, always recite salawat at the start of it and at the end of it. And this way send your dua. The second reason is that dua removes nifaq from an individual. It removes hypocrisy from an individual. That an individual considers someone greater than himself. So by the recitation of salawat, an individual lowers himself in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and puts himself in a better position to be able to ask from Allah. From a position of lowliness, from a position of being a beggar, from a position of being someone who is weak, that individual can then ask, because that is the dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the most. So the first reason is to be able to get that dua accepted. The second reason is in order to introduce the true nature and the true level of Ahlul Bayt, because the station of the Ahlul Bayt was being reduced at that time. The people did not even consider Ali Muhammad to be Muslim. This is the situation at that time, that the seeds that had been sown by Muawiyah, that were then manifesting later on in society, that they were not considering. And this is why when the Imam is in Sham and he introduces himself, you know, when Yazid, after having someone come and give his khutbah, cursing Ahlul Bayt and all this, the Imam says to him, says, Yazid, can I mount upon this pile of sticks? He did not consider the mimbar that was used to curse Ali Muhammad anything but a pile of sticks. He says, can I mount upon this pile of sticks and say a few words? And Yazid, first of all, said no. And those that were around Yazid, they said, look, he's in shackles, he's recovering from illness, he's weak. What's he going to say? And even here, the enemy of Ali Muhammad accept the station of Ali Muhammad. He says, no, you do not understand. These are individuals that have received ilm from Rasulullah, zakkan zakka. They have received knowledge from Rasulullah like a bird gives food to its chick. In the whole sense, that knowledge is unadulterated and has been passed on to them. The Imam mounts upon the mimbar and he says, oh people, we have been granted with 6 characteristics and 7 virtues that no one else has been given. أعطينا العلم والحلم وسماها وفصاها وشجاعة ومحبة في قلوب المؤمنين. We have been given knowledge, we have been given patience, we have been given eloquence, we have been given forgiveness, and we have been given the love within the hearts of the mu'mineen. And then he says, and we have been given certain virtues. وَمِنَّا النَّبِيِّ الْمُخْتَارِ, and from us is that chosen prophet. وَمِنَّا الصَّدِّيقِ, and from us is the truthful one of this ummah, Ali ibn Abi Talib. وَمِنَّا الطَّيَّارِ, from us is Ja'far al-Tayyar. وَمِنَّا سَيِّدَةُ النِّسَاءِ, and from us is Fatima al-Zahra. وَمِنَّا سِبْطَيَ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ, and from us are the sons of this ummah, Al-Hasan and Hussain. وَمِنَّا مَهْدِيُّ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ, and from us is the Mahdi of this ummah. وَمِنَّا أَسَدَ اللَّهُ وَأَسَدَ الرَّسُولِ, from us is the lion of the Prophet and the lion of God, Hamza. And then the Imam says, مَنْ عَرَفَنِي فَقَدْ عَرَفَنِي, those of you that know me, know me. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَعْرِفْنِي, then those of you that don't know me, allow me to introduce my hasab and my nasab. Allow me to introduce who I am and who my family are. And the Imam begins his khutbah. He says, أَنَا ابْنُ مَكَّةُ وَالْمِنَا أَنَا ابْنُ زَمْزَمْ وَالسَّفَا. He says, I am the son of Mecca and I am the son of Mina. I am the son of Zamzam and I am the son of Safa. I am the son of the one that was the best amongst creation to walk upon the earth. I am the son of the one that was raised to the heavens on Buraq. I am the son of Muhammad Mustafa. Then he says, I am the son of the one that did sajda to 2 qiblas. I am the son of the one that fought in front of the Holy Prophet with 2 spears and 2 swords. I am the son of the one that did hijrah twice with the Holy Prophet. I am the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Then he says, I am the son of the greatest of the women. I am the son of Fatima al-Zahra. And then Imam turns to Yazid and he says, I am the son of the one whose body was covered in his own blood. I am the son of the one whose head was severed from his body. I am the son of the one whose head is within this tray. The Imam introduces Ahlul Bayt in such a way because the people were unaware of the greatness of Ahlul Bayt. They were unaware of the station of Ahlul Bayt. Why is it that this khutbah then caused a revolution amongst the people? Because they were unaware of the station of the Ahlul Bayt. So the first thing that the Imam does is that he starts the dua with salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And then the Imam opens the dua. He says, Oh Allah, balligh imani akmal al-iman. Oh Allah, cause my faith to reach its perfection. In Muharram, those of you that were in the lectures will remember that we made a distinction between Islam and Iman. We all claim to be mu'mineen. However, we found under analysis that the mu'min is the one that puts La ilaha illallah into his actions. The mu'min is the one who does not sin. The mu'min is the one that is conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly. We find in the khutbah of Azakhana-e-Zahra where she says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah kalimatun ja'ala al-ikhlasa ta'wilaha. She says that I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and this is a statement whose tafsir, whose explanation is given through sincere devotion. When an individual places it within his life, when an individual places La ilaha illallah and does not worship anything else but Allah. And I gave you examples that sometimes when we're standing, when it's the time for salah, we place salah secondary and we go and do something else first. We want to finish off our Xbox game. We want to finish off the football match. We'll wait till half time to go and pray. Why? Because we don't want to disturb our watching of football. This is what I mean by placing something in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That when an individual has that within their life and an individual acts like that, where namaz, where his ibadat towards Allah, where his duty towards Allah is placed secondary towards something else, he has not understood La ilaha illallah. And when the Imam here is praying, Balligh imani akmal al-iman, make my iman reach its perfection. It is in reference to that nothing else in my life matters. First and foremost is Allah Azza wa Jal, my duty towards Allah, and then anything else comes. Then the Imam says, وَيَقِينِي أَفْضَلَ الْيَقِينِ, and take my yaqeen to the pinnacles of yaqeen, to the height of yaqeen. Make it reach its perfection. And we said that yaqeen is a higher level than iman. Yaqeen, certainty, is a level that is higher than faith, is a level higher than iman. Now this is when an individual within his heart has itminan. He has peace in his heart. He has no doubt within his heart that that which he is following is the true path, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually exists. Because I said to you, even during Muharram, one of the main reasons that we constantly sin, because in reality we don't really believe Allah exists. We don't really believe in Qiyamah. Because if we did, and we believed in a God that could see us constantly, we believed that there would be a day when we would be judged, we believed that Allah was adil, that Allah was just, we would never commit to sin. But the fact that that has not permeated into our hearts shows that we really don't believe as we should. When the Imam says أفضل اليقين, take it to the peak of yaqeen. That peak of yaqeen is when an individual would stand when his companion is asking him, Ya Ali, is your station higher or is the station of Ibrahim Nabi higher? And Amir al-Mu'mineen turns to Sa'sa bin Sawhan and he says, Sa'sa, my station is higher. Says, Ya Ali, why? Says, read the Quran. Ibrahim Nabi went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, prayed to Allah, Oh Allah, show me how you will raise the dead. And the reply came, Oh Ibrahim, awalam tu'min. Oh Ibrahim, do you not have iman? He said, Ya Allah, I have iman, but I wish my heart to be at ease. I wish to have itminan within my heart. And then Allah ordered Ibrahim to go and take 4 types of bird, mince their meat and place them upon 10 different mountaintops and call each one of them. But oh Sa'sa, I, Ali, am that individual that has said on a number of occasions, لو كشف الغطاء ما أزددت يقينا, that if every single one of the curtains was lifted in front of the eyes of Ali, Ali's iman, Ali's itminan, Ali's yaqeen would not increase by 1 atom, because he is at that level. This is what it means, أفضل اليقين, when the Imam is praying for أفضل اليقين, to be at that level. It is as if all the curtains have been lifted and an individual is unnerved, is unmoved by what has happened, because he was already at that level of certainty. Then the Imam says, وَانْتَحِي بِنِيَّتِي إِلَىٰ أَحْسَنِ النِّيَّاتِ, and change my intentions to the best of intentions. I can do a'mal all I want. I can regularly come to the masjid. I can establish the Majlis of Abu Abdullah. I can do all of these things, and everyone around me will be saying, MashaAllah, look at this true azadar of Abu Abdullah. But inside, what my intention is, no one knows. Sometimes my intention becomes that I want to get one over this individual. My majlis will be greater than his majlis. I will make sure that everyone comes so people know that my majlis was better than his. Or my intention is that I will do long sujood so that the individuals around me think, wow, what an arif. What an individual that has known Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I go to do azar, I will be the one that does the hardest matam, so people say, what an azadar of Sayyidul Shuhada. This is what the Imam is talking about. When he says, oh Allah, remove these bad intentions and make my intentions the best of intentions. This is where we're talking about that thought. Because in Surah Al-Hujurat, when we look, first of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and do not say anything bad about an individual. About an individual. Allah says anyone. Do not say anything bad about an individual. Obviously there are caveats for that, those who are fasiq, those who are enemies of Allah, that's different. However, concerning the believers, do not say anything bad about them. Then later on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not think ill of another believer. Do not think ill. And then when we look at Munajat al-Arifin of Imam al-Sajjad, again within Sahifa al-Sajjadiyah, the addended items at the back of Sahifa are 15 whispered prayers of the Imam, where Imam converses with his Lord privately. Within those Munajat, one of the characteristics of the Urafa is that their thoughts are pure even when they are alone. You see, we can be very nice. I can be very nice to you now and say, MashaAllah, you're great mu'mineen and you have great iman and I see so much nur from your face. And in my mind, I'm thinking, no chance. I'm not really. Just to make you aware, I'm not. I'm actually thinking about the lecture in my mind at the moment, if you're curious. But yet there are times when we're conversing with an individual and in the back of our minds we're thinking, why is he talking to me like this? Why is he asking me these questions? What's he got up his sleeve? What's he got planned? When we have that purity of thought, we don't think ill of another individual. We don't think badly of another mu'min. Because our intentions are pure. When we get together, when we call people, it is only for the sake of Ahlul Bayt. It is only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not for the sake of political point scoring or one-upsmanship. So the Imam prays for that purity of intention. That, oh Imam, anything I do in my life, make my intention behind it the purest of intentions. Don't let anything else ruin that ibadat. Then Imam says, وَبِعَمَلِ إِلَىٰ أَحْسَنِ الْأَعْمَالِ, and then it leads into action. Purity of thought leads into purity of action, and make my a'mal, make my actions the best of actions. That when I do something, make it the best of actions. When I stand to pray salah, and I do that takbiratul ihram, I'm not scratching here, like swaying along on the spot like this, moving back and forth while I'm praying. You know, Imam al-Baqir would say concerning Imam al-Sajjad, that he would say that my father, when he stood to pray, was like a tree trunk. Nothing on his body would move except that which the wind moved. Imagine that level of ubudiyyah. But yet when I go to pray, I think about everything else other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can think of everything else except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll be thinking, okay, in my lecture I need to say this, and make sure I make this point, and if I highlight this point, Allahu Akbar, Subhana Rabbil Azim wa bihamdi, and I'll say this as well, Sami Allah. Not that sort of ibadat. The Imam is saying, no. When you, oh Allah, make my a'mal the best of a'mal. When I do things, make it the best of what I can do. And it doesn't apply just to ibadat, but in our day-to-day lives as well. Exactly whatever we do, if it's studying for school, university, college, if it's playing something, if it's playing a sport, if it's going to the gym, I do it to the best of my ability, because the mu'min does not know the word I can't. Everything is done to the best of an individual's ability. There is no half efforts when it comes to the mu'mineen. That's different if I find that I'm not doing everything that I can in a particular field, because that's an indication to me that I'm not a mu'min. So we see, we have all these various triggers that the Imam is telling us, tick boxes that the Imam is telling us. If you have these, then yes, you are heading towards makarim al-akhlaq, you are heading towards the pinnacle of ethics, of morals. After doing this, the Imam says one line, and I'll end upon that, highlight a little bit around that, and we'll end on this point. The Imam says, Ilahi, a'idhani wa la tabtaliyanni bil kibr. My Lord, give me izzah, give me honor, but do not make me subject to pride. Exalt me, but do not afflict me with pride. Give me izzah. Everybody wants izzah, everyone wants honor. And you know, sometimes we think, no, it's my family izzah, it's my izzah. You know, this is about my izzah. I can't talk to this individual, or I can't sit with that individual, or I can't do this because, you know, it's about my izzah. It's against the honor, or it's against my honor to do this. Or our girls can't marry that individual because it's against my honor. For example, of all these various things where this word of honor is used, this word of izzah is used in order to push forward our own personal agendas that are underlined with kibr, with pride. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, when we want to look actually at who is actually Aziz, who is actually the one with izzah. Because we have our own perceptions, but Ahlul Bayt and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a totally different understanding of honor and an understanding of izzah. People actually often get confused between izzah and takabbur. You know, izzah is when you're exalted and you have respect. And takabbur is pride, when you're showing off about that or using that in order to oppress another individual or considering yourself far greater. We'll see that those with izzah never need to go forward and highlight how great they are to other people. Allah Azza wa Jal raises them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them izzah. So when we see what are the different ways to become aziz, one of the ways that we find from the Imams say, وَحْفَظْ لِسَانَكَ تُعَذْ. Control your tongue and you will become aziz, you will become honorable. No one likes to be humiliated, no one likes to be daleel. No one wants to reach that station when no one gives them any honor. So we're looking at how we can gain that honor through the right way. The Imam says that control your tongue and you will be given honor. There are certain individuals who people stay away from. They say, no, don't speak to him, he has a harsh tongue, he swears a lot, he gets very angry and he'll say certain things to you that you wish he'd just stabbed you instead of saying those words. Those individuals, in fact, the Holy Prophet says, Shar'un Nas, the worst of individual, the worst of mankind, not just mu'mineen, the worst of mankind is that individual who is feared by the people because of his tongue. Because he has such a foul tongue, or he has such a tongue in his mouth, the people say, forget him, we don't want to talk to this individual, because when he speaks, he'll just go and say something and he'll, ruin people's reputations. The Holy Prophet says that the worst of those people, the worst of all of mankind, is the one whom the people fear as a result of his tongue. And sometimes with this tongue, we say things, and at our levels of spirituality, because we haven't really focused on our progression towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't realize the damage that we are causing to ourselves. But when we look at the life of the ulama, for example, there is a story in regards to Marhum Kashif al-Ghita, who was one of our great ulama. One night, he was reading, and it's the way of our ulama that they would study constantly, and they would not go to bed without studying, without reading and learning something new in their lives. So one morning, the son of Kashif al-Ghita comes across his father, and he's wailing and crying and everything. And the son says, my father, what happened? Why are you crying? And he says, no, leave it. I don't want to talk about it. He says, no, please. He insisted. So then Mahum Kashif al-Ghita says, last night when I was studying, I came across a fatwa, and wherever I looked, I couldn't find the root of it. I couldn't find the hadith or the Quranic ayah where the faqih had reached the conclusion. And so he says that I became tired and I became angry at the fact that I couldn't find the root of this fatwa. And people nowadays, they like to oppose the maraji, they like to say we don't need taqleed, and these marjas, they just make them up. And it's not like they just make it up. They spend years and years and years of research. They look at Quran, they look at hadith, they look at the fatwas of previous ulama, they look at all of these various things, and then they take it very seriously when they give you a fatwa. It's not like they just say, okay, khalas, we're giving you a fatwa, now you can go. No. We have to be very, very careful that this anti-ulama movement that is coming within our communities, inshallah, hasn't reached here yet, but in England it's in full flow, where now ulama are being sworn at, ulama are being cursed, ulama are saying that this alim is like this and this fulan is like this and he's a muqassir and that's a muqassir. and all of these various words that are being used against ulama. And it's a shocking thing. You know, when we read in Dua Abu Hamd al-Thumali, the Imam says in Dua Abu Hamd al-Thumali that, Imam says, "Oh, لَعَلَّكَ رَأَيْتَنِي فِي مَجَالِسِ الْعُلَمَاءِ فَخَذَلْتَنِي." Oh Imam, maybe, oh Allah, maybe it is because you did not find me in the gathering of the ulama, thus you have made me dhaleel. You have humiliated me. Thus you have let me down. Why? Because I did not stay with the ulama. That's a side point. However, he was reading this and he couldn't find the root. So he said, "Oh, what sort of people are these? They give a fatwa without a root." And he shut the book and went to sleep. That night he says, I saw in my dream that I was coming into the haram of Amir al-Mu'mineen in Najaf, and I saw that the great alim, Marhum Muhaqqiq, was holding a dars in the haram of Imam. So he says, I went in to try and join this dars of this alim, when Marhum Muhaqqiq, sitting from the mimbar, said, "No, don't let him in. Don't let him in, keep him outside." So he says, I sat outside and I was crying and I was wondering, why is it that this alim did not let me in? I too am a scholar, I too am someone who is, learned. And so he sat outside and he was very upset. He says, after the dars, Marhum Muhaqqiq himself came to me. And this is in his dream. He says that, where is it, why is it that you said such words? He says, what words were they? He says that, what sort of people are they that they give a fatwa without having a root? He says, you said such words. How could you utter such words? He says, well, I looked and I couldn't find anything. And he says, look, pick up Faiz Kashani's book, Al-Wafi, and read in there. And he woke up from his dream. The next morning when he found Faiz Kashani's book, he looked in it, he found a hadith from where that fatwa was gained. The point is, one word from his tongue out of place. Remember, he didn't even say the name of the person, he just went, what sort, they give a fatwa without a root. One small word, and he sees that dream. Imagine how many words do we say out of place with our tongue? How many ghiba do we do about another individual? How much do we backbite? How many lies do we tell, even if we consider them to be jokingly lies? How many times do we swear at other individuals? The tongue is a very dangerous thing. If we want to become aziz, if we want to become honorable, the first thing that the Imam say is control your tongue. The second thing is from the Holy Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says that whoever wants izzah, they should know that all izzah فَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةِ, all izzah is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All honor is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The closer you are to Allah, the more honor you will have in the eyes of the people in society, the more society will raise you. In riwayah, the closest point to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for man is sajda. And the Holy Prophet of Islam says those individuals that do long sujood, they will be with me in Jannah. The ones that enjoy long sujood, the one that prolongs his sajda. If you want to gain closeness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, need to fall in love with ibadat. We need to fall in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the companions of the 6th Imam says that I spent the night with the 6th Imam watching him pray, and at one point I saw that the Imam was in sajda, and 500 times he repeated Subhana Rabbi al-A'la wa bihamdih. 500 times the Imam. And because of this closeness that the A'immah had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one could remove this from them. When Imam al-Hadi is removed by Mutawakkil from Medina, and he is and he's taken away from there, Mutawakkil brought him and kept him within the stables where they would keep the horses. One of the companions of the Imam saw Imam and said, "Oh Imam, what is this?" So she began to cry. He says that, "How is it possible that you are here? You're someone of your honor, someone of your caliber, of your station. He's being kept with the animals." And he was crying. The Imam said, "It does not matter where they keep us. Our station is still our station. They cannot remove our station from us." You see, brothers and sisters, an individual is not defined by the car he drives. He's not defined by the clothes he wears. Izzah, honor is not given to you because of the size of your biceps. Izzah is not given to you because of the amount you can bench press. Izzah is not given to you because you hold a black belt in certain martial arts. But Izzah is given to that individual that gains closeness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we have that closeness towards Allah, then that individual is given honor. And that's why you find it within history. Ulama that had nothing. They had nothing. But yet they're frail, they have no money, nothing to drink, nothing to eat. They're fasting in order to get by. And those individuals, but yet they were honored. They walked out in the street and people flocked around them. Why? Why? Because they were close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because they had that izzah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third thing is that from the sixth Imam, he says that do not claim or speak about something that you don't know about. If you do not know about a subject, then do not try and answer questions on that subject. Do not try and speak about that subject. If you don't know how to do something, do not try and do that thing. If you do this, then Allah will make you humiliated. Allah will humiliate you. And unfortunately, it seems like the easiest thing that everyone has an opinion about is Islam. No matter who comes, you get them upon the minbar and they say whatever they want in the name of Allah Azza wa Jal, in the name of Ahlul Bayt, without a single shred of knowledge behind them. This is the disease that we have. We need to be aware that those that we allow to mount our minbars, those that we allow to speak about Ahlul Bayt, those that we allow to speak knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those that actually have been trained, those that we know, yes, they have been trained by certain ulama, or they have, it's not just a free-for-all. So if you want izzah, then do not speak about that thing that you do not know about. The fourth thing that the Imam says, he says, do not constantly ask people for help. Do not constantly be going to someone, "Oh, could you help me with this? I need this," or "Someone help me with this," or "Someone help me with this," or various organizations, everyone with their begging bowl out, "We need a donation for this," or "We're collecting for this, we need donation for this, we're trying to make this." If you constantly go to the people, then Allah humiliates you. Why? So why did you knock on the door of my creature when I am the creator? Why did you go to the door of my creature when I am the creator? You don't have money? Then don't go knocking on the doors of people saying, "We need man, pray 2 rakat salah." Say, "Ya Allah, not going to anyone, you provide for me." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you rizq regardless. Like I said in Shahr Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us rizq regardless. Muharram. I was saying that in the dua of Rajab, يا من يؤتي الكثير بالقليل يا من يؤتي من سأل يا من يؤتي من لم يسأله ومن لم يعرفه تحننا منه ورحمة. Oh, the one that gives to the one that asks from him. Oh, the one that gives to the one that does not ask from him. Oh, the one that gives to the one that does not even acknowledge his existence. Out of his mercy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. And that's why the teachers of akhlaq say, don't waste your dua asking for rizq. Instead, ask for concentration of the heart in salah. Ask for an understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So do not go around asking help from the people all the time. The fifth and the final thing that the Imam says is that don't tell everyone your secrets or what your views are on certain things. Keep secrets to yourself and sometimes keep your views to yourself. This will make you aziz. This will take you away from being dhaleel. This is izzah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not money, it's not clothing, it's not how strong I am or how many friends I have or how I can overpower other people. But it is through that ubudiyyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Sajjad is saying, oh Allah, give me izzah but do not make me proud. Give me honor but do not make me proud. That I start then throwing it around, telling people, oh, I have this and I have that and this, and we don't have time to go into it now because I'm sure I've gone over my time. I was hoping last time there was a clock there and this time it's gone and now it's behind. So that one was always there, but then there was a huge one that used to be up there and that's disappeared. So that's what threw me a little bit, but inshallah when we get another opportunity we'll try and look into that pride. But suffice it to say that the first individual that showed pride, that showed takabbur, was shaitan. He was the first to show pride, that he believed what he was made of, fire, was greater than clay. How is it possible that I can do sajda to that? And we often do that as well. But I'm from this family, how is it possible that I should stand for this individual? Or, but I am an alim, why should I say salam to him first? Or I am, son of this fulan individual, people should say salam to me first. See, these are various diseases of pride. The one that has izzah from Allah, you find that the more izzah they gain, the more that they bow in front of individuals. They have that humility from Allah. That's what we're aiming for. And Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq is full of all of these various beauties and these gems that the Imams have given us. If you want that perfection within your deen, then that is the first step. Look at Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq. That is spiritual progression. If we can remove those things from ourselves, we'll be one step closer towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in the recognition of the Imam of our time. Because this ummah, these Imams, they've given us so many gems. They've given us so many gems. They've come and they have tried to help this ummah, but what this ummah did to Ahlul Bayt does not bear to be thought about. The day of Arba'een passed us by yesterday. And you saw millions gather at the grave of the one that they call Gharib. Gharib means the one that is alone. The one that has no one by his side. Abu Abdullah, one of his titles is Gharib. He had no one by his side. When Hussain stood on the plains of Karbala for the final time, after he had given even his 6-month-old child, had come back with this arrow within his neck, Mazbuhim min al-uzn ila al-uzn, the one that was slaughtered from ear to ear. Abu Abdullah comes and he buries the child in the earth of Karbala. And then Hussain stands up. Now Hussain has no one by his side. He is totally alone. Abu Abdullah comes to the tents for the final time, mounting upon his horse. He cries out, O Sakina, O Ruqayya, O Zainab, O Kulthum, accept the final salams of Hussain. They say that the women folk of Ahlul Bayt surrounded the horse of Abu Abdullah. They surrounded the horse of Abu Abdullah. They began crying and weeping. Abu Abdullah consoles each one of them, takes them back into the tent. Then when Hussein makes the intention again to mount upon his horse and ride out, now the horse will not move. The Dhakirin and ulama recite that the horse of Hussein would not move. Abu Abdullah leans forward and he whispers in the ear of his horse. He says, "Oh my horse, I have asked you many a time to go out into the battlefield, but I swear this is the last time that this rider will go. He will not return back again." The horse, not moving, looks towards his hind legs. Abu Abdullah looks down. The 4-year-old daughter of Imam al-Hussain is holding on to the legs of the horse, saying, "Oh horse, do not take my father, because whoever has gone since this morning has not returned." Imam al-Hussain comes down from his horse. He takes his daughter within his hands and he begins to cry and weep with her. He says to her, "Oh Sakina, now you must be patient. If you find me laying upon the plains of Karbala in a pool of my own blood, then do not wail over me. Be patient, prepare yourself for captivity, oh my daughter." Imam al-Hussain then takes his daughter and gives it to Zainab. Gives her to Zainab. Zainab takes the daughter inside. He mounts back upon his horse. As he begins to ride out, he hears someone running and falling and stumbling behind him. And then he hears the cry, "Mahlan, mahla, ya ibn Zahra." "Oh, slowly, slowly, oh the son of Zahra." Abu Abdullah turns around to see his sister Zainab running behind him. He says, "Oh Zainab, return back to the tents. Do not come out while Hussein is alive." Abu Abdullah rides out into the battlefield. He begins his battle. They start to attack Abu Abdullah. From every angle they are firing arrows into the body of Imam al-Hussain. The Maqatil say that Hussein met every arrow and every spear with his chest and with his neck. There came a point where now Imam, with over 300 wounds upon his body, unable now to fight on, Imam sits up on his horse to take a breath. One mal'oon throws a stone at the head of Imam al-Hussain. The blood begins pouring from the forehead of Imam al-Hussain. He takes the blood, he throws it to the sky, then he takes another amount of blood and he rubs it over his face and his beard, and he says that, "I swear that I will meet my grandfather in this state, and I will say, oh my grandfather, this individual and this individual killed me." Then Abu Abdullah lifts his shirt in order to wipe his face of blood. Harmala, seeing the whiteness of the chest of Abu Abdullah, fires a 3-headed poisoned arrow into the chest of Imam al-Hussain. They say that that arrow entered into the chest of Imam al-Hussain and the head of it exited from the back of Abu Abdullah. Imam al-Hussain grabs the arrow from the back. He pulls the arrow out from his back. They say a fountain of blood exited the chest of Hussain. He says, "Bismillah wa billah wa ala millati Rasulillah." Again he takes the blood. He pours it over his face. And now Hussain again begins to fight amongst the army of Yazid. When one mal'oon strikes Abu Abdullah, as the Imam of your time says, "My salams be upon that individual that fell to the plains of Karbala from the running horse." Abu Abdullah falls from the running horse onto the plains of Karbala, his whole body covered in arrows. The Maqatil say that Hussein's body was covered in so many arrows and so many spears. It looked like a hedgehog had fallen upon the ground of Karbala. Abu Abdullah lying there motionless on the plains of Karbala. No one dare approach him. Hussein tries to stand up. One individual comes and strikes Imam al-Hussain with an iron bar. Another one Imam strikes him upon the shoulder. Imam al-Hussain lying upon the plains of Karbala. No one there by his side. Abi Abdullah all alone. No one dare approach him. Finally, the horse of Imam al-Hussain comes forward. He dips his head in the blood of Imam al-Hussain. It rides back to the tents of the women folk. As it comes in, the Imam says in Zahratun Nahiyya, salams be upon that time when your horse came in to the tents of the women of Ahlul Bayt. The saddle had come off, its face covered in blood and neighing, and the women came out of the tents and surrounded. Someone was crying, where have you left my father? Another crying, where have you left my brother? Another crying, where have you left my master? Zainab runs to tell Zainabiyya that moment that you heard on the day of Ashura, as the women of Ahlul Bayt had returned on the day of Arba'een. They returned to Karbala. They remember each and every one of these moments. Zainab will have remembered that time as she ran out from the tents onto Tilla Zainabiyya, and she sees, what does she see? A Shimru Jalisun ala sadrin. Shimr is upon the chest of Abu Abdullah. He is holding the beard of Imam al-Hussain. He is striking upon the neck of Abu Abdullah. Zainab is crying, saying, Oh Umar ibn Sa'ad, oh Umar ibn Sa'ad, do you not see this is the son of Rasulullah? Oh Umar ibn Sa'ad, is there not a Muslim amongst you? Zainab runs back to the tents. Oh Sajjad, wake up! Sajjad, wake up! They're killing your father! Imam al-Sajjad says, Oh Auntie Zainab, oh Auntie Zainab, move back the tent, move back the curtain of the tent. As Zainab goes to move back the curtain of the tent, the sky becomes dark, the earth begins to tremble, and the call is heard, Ala qad qutila al-Hussain bi Karbala, Ala qad zubiha al-Hussain bi Karbala. Hussain has been martyred in Karbala. Hussain has been slaughtered in Karbala. Imam al-Sajjad points to the heavens. He says, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bi faraik. Zainab looks and the head of Hussain is upon the spear. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين